Peter the Great, born on June 9, 1672 in Moscow, was destined to become one of Russia's most transformative leaders. The son of Tsar Alexis and his second wife, Natalia Naryshkina, Peter's early life was marked by the tumult of the Russian court, where power struggles were as common as the changing seasons. His childhood was relatively sheltered, but the death of his half-brother, Tsar Fedor III, in 1682 thrust Peter into the turbulent world of politics at a young age. At just 10 years old, Peter was declared Kotsar alongside his half-brother Ivan, who was mentally incapacitated and largely influenced by their sister Sophia. This arrangement was far from ideal, as it set the stage for a fierce power struggle. Sophia, ambitious and cunning, attempted to consolidate her power, leading to a series of conflicts between the factions that supported each brother. Peter, however, was not one to be overshadowed. Even as a child, he exhibited an insatiable curiosity and a penchant for hands-on learning, often preferring to play with wooden models of ships rather than engage in the courtly games of his peers. It was during these formative years that Peter developed a fascination with the sea and shipbuilding. He would later express this passion in his ambitious plans to modernize Russia. But first, he had to navigate the treacherous waters of the Russian court. In 1689, at the age of 16, Peter seized control of the government after a coup against Sophia, who was forced to enter a convent. This marked the beginning of Peter's reign, but it was just the first step in his long journey toward transforming Russia into a formidable European power. Peter's reign was characterized by his relentless pursuit of modernization and reform. In 1697, he embarked on a grand tour of Europe, disguised as a commoner to avoid recognition. This journey was pivotal, as Peter was exposed to the advancements in technology, military organization, and governance that had propelled Western Europe into an age of prosperity. He visited the shipyards of Amsterdam, where he learned the intricacies of shipbuilding, and the bustling streets of London, where he observed the workings of a parliamentary system. Each encounter fueled his ambition to bring Russia into the modern age. Upon his return to Russia, Peter wasted no time implementing reforms. He recognized that to strengthen his nation, he needed to build a navy and modernize the army. This required not only new ships and weapons, but also a shift in the very fabric of Russian society. He imposed a series of sweeping reforms aimed at westernizing the Russian elite, including changes in dress, grooming, and social customs. Perhaps most famously, he mandated that the boyars, or nobles, shave their beards and adopt Western-style clothing, a move that met with resistance but ultimately signaled a cultural shift. One of Peter's most ambitious projects was the founding of St. Petersburg in 1703, a city that would serve as a window to the West. He envisioned it as a new capital that would symbolize Russia's emergence as a European power. The construction of St. Petersburg was a monumental task, fraught with challenges. Thousands of laborers, many of whom were conscripted serfs, toiled under harsh conditions to build the city from marshy land. The city was designed with grand avenues, palaces, and canals, reflecting Peter's vision of a modern metropolis. However, the human cost was high, with many workers losing their lives to disease and the grueling labor. As he built his new capital, Peter also focused on expanding his military might. The Great Northern War, 1700 to 1721, against Sweden, became a defining conflict of his reign. Peter sought to secure access to the Baltic Sea, which was crucial for trade and naval power. The war was long and arduous, marked by significant battles, including the decisive victory at the Battle of Poltava in 1709. This victory not only solidified Peter's reputation as a military leader, but also marked a turning point in Russia's status in Europe. The defeat of the Swedish forces allowed Peter to expand his territory and influence, establishing Russia as a major player in European affairs. Despite his military successes, Peter faced numerous challenges at home. His reforms often met with fierce opposition from traditionalists who resisted change. The boyars, in particular, were reluctant to relinquish their power and privileges. Peter's authoritarian style of governance, characterized by a willingness to use force to quash dissent, created an atmosphere of fear and resentment. However, Peter remained undeterred, believing that the future of Russia depended on his vision for modernization. The latter part of Peter's reign was marked by personal tragedy as well. The death of his beloved son, Alexei, in 1718, was a devastating blow. Alexei had been a source of hope for Peter, a potential successor who could carry on his legacy. However, Alexei's reluctance to embrace his father's reforms and his desire for a more traditional Russia created a rift between father and son. In a tragic turn of events, Peter accused Alexei of treason, leading to his arrest and eventual death in prison. This loss deeply affected Peter, leaving him to grapple with the consequences of his relentless pursuit of progress. As Peter continued to implement his reforms, he also sought to establish a sense of national identity for Russia. He understood that a strong nation required more than just military might. It needed a cohesive culture and a shared vision. To this end, Peter promoted education and the arts, founding institutions such as the Russian Academy of Sciences. He encouraged the translation of Western literature and the establishment of schools, believing that an educated populace was essential for the nation's future. Peter's legacy is a complex tapestry woven from threads of ambition, tragedy, and transformation. He transformed Russia from a relatively isolated nation into a formidable European power, but his methods were often ruthless and authoritarian. His vision for a modern Russia was not universally embraced, and the societal upheaval he caused left a lasting impact on the nation. Yet despite the challenges and opposition he faced, Peter the Great's determination to reshape Russia's destiny remains a testament to his indomitable spirit. As Peter's life drew to a close, he continued to grapple with the consequences of his reign. His health deteriorated, and he faced numerous challenges in his final years. The burdens of leadership weighed heavily on him. But his commitment to his vision never wavered. Peter died on February 8, 1725, leaving behind a transformed Russia and a legacy that would be felt for generations to come. In the years following his death, Peter's reforms would continue to shape the course of Russian history. His successors, while varying in their commitment to his vision, would grapple with the tensions between tradition and modernization that he had set in motion. The impact of his reign would resonate through the ages, influencing not only the political landscape of Russia, but also its cultural identity. Peter the Great's life is a remarkable narrative of ambition, innovation, and tragedy. He was a man who dared to dream of a better future for his country, and in his quest to realize that dream, he reshaped the very fabric of Russian society. His legacy endures as a testament to the power of vision and the complexities of leadership, reminding us that the journey of transformation is often fraught with challenges, but ultimately it is a journey worth undertaking.